Hello, everybody. Let me ask the question first. Have you ever faced a moment in your life where you felt stuck, where your future felt like a blank page, but not filled with limitless opportunities and possibilities, but rather just no direction at all? I'm sure you did. I have been there too. In the year 2013, I hit something that I can just describe as rock bottom. I quit university. I didn't feel good enough to continue my studies. I came back to my hometown, started working part-time, and just observed how days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and my life kind of lost the momentum completely. So when you face challenges like this, it's easy to give up, but sometimes you have to remember that hitting the rock bottom doesn't have to mean the end. Sometimes it means opportunity to reset, to reevaluate, to think what kind of story you want to tell next. And sometimes when you take this first risky step into the unknown, something that feels impossible can turn out to be inevitable. And sometimes we realize that extraordinary stories do not always start with great courage and ambition, but sometimes with a moment of doubt. I think that happened in my case. So let me share my story today, how I made it from my hometown when I was feeling lost and directionless to here after achieving something that I felt was completely impossible. So let's travel back in time to September 2013. There was one day that for me was completely ordinary, nothing specific happened. I was just wasting my life. But somewhere on the other side of the world, an extraordinary announcement was being made. Tokyo was just announced as a host city for the Olympics in 2020. I didn't know it at the time, but this announcement would plant a seed in me, a seed that would take a couple of years to actually sprout. Something after this announcement was made, my father made the comment that caught me completely off guard. And he said that, why don't you look for opportunities in Japan? Maybe when the time comes, you can become a part of the Olympic staff. He is a big sports fan, so for him it was just a random comment, just a passing thought. But for me it felt completely absurd. I thought, me working at the Olympics, traveling to Japan, other side of the world? Of course, I always follow the Olympics, but mostly for the peace building and international cooperation aspect, and of course the great show they always put during opening ceremonies. And I thought about traveling to Japan. I even started learning a language a little bit. But I was a university dropout working part-time in my hometown. I felt like it was a dead end. So I just didn't believe it can ever happen. Naturally, I just laughed it off, feeling that it's not possible. Like traveling to another country, to Japan, feeling like a distant dream, and the Olympics themselves felt like another galaxy altogether. But somehow the words of my father stayed with me, not because I believed it can happen, but maybe because it represented something that I was lacking at the moment, and that something was a personal goal. You know, when you feel stuck and in a limbo, it's easy to dismiss possibilities and opportunities. You think that big dreams are for others, not for you, especially if you have people around you that keep telling you that literally. That also happened to me. But then you have to remember that those are those tiny seeds of possibilities that are sometimes planted by your family, by random comments, by random thoughts, ideas, that they are very powerful. They don't have to make sense right away, they don't have to seem achievable, but they exist and they are there waiting for the moment to grow. So naturally, I didn't follow my father's advice at the time. I didn't apply for a job at the Olympic Committee, no. But, well, I was about to witness how life likes to bring things in a full circle in the most unexpected way sometimes. Because there will be a time in the future when my father's words will echo in my brain, in my mind, when I was about to embark on a journey I completely didn't expect was possible. So next year in 2014, I decided to change something. I decided to come back to the university. Not because I felt ready at the time, but I thought that my life is leading to nowhere. I just have to do something if I want to have a better future. I decided to study cultural studies, not because it was obvious or some easy choice that was about to provide me a great career, but somehow it sparked my interest. I felt drawn to this idea of exploring different parts of the world, so different from my own. It was starting from zero. It was difficult, of course. The downside is that it's like climbing a mountain without the guarantee of seeing a view from the top. But the upside is that your old limitations are kind of stripped away. So you start seeing yourself in completely new light. And that brings opportunities. So as I immersed myself in my studies, I started getting, immersed into this intercultural communication. I found really interesting connections between history, identity, culture, and I was good in understanding it. That was the first time in years when I actually felt good at something. I felt that there is a potential. I started realizing it again. I thought that after all, even if I wasn't aware of all those opportunities, the opportunities are there in the world. I maybe just need some more confidence to reach out for them. And my environment also played a huge role in this transformation. Being surrounded by like-minded students and professors who shared my passion for culture, who encouraged me to be better, who inspired me, challenged me, and also criticized, but in a very constructive way, which allowed me to grow and get better. I realized that sometimes if you want to improve, you have to change your environment. Another scholarship opportunity came. It was an opportunity to spend 1 year studying in Japan and completing an internship. When I heard about it, I decided, okay, this is something I want to do. I will put all my energy and my effort into winning this. Because, well, at the time, most of my friends were graduating and I was just starting over, so I kind of felt pressured. And I remember calling my mom on that day, telling her, Mom, 2 or 3 years from now, I'm moving to Japan for a year. And in 2016, I was notified in summer that I actually won the scholarship. And I called my mom again, and I said, Mom, I'm moving to Japan in a couple of weeks. It felt so surreal. But this year I spent in Japan turned out to be a revelation. I put myself not only completely new culture, but also in new work environment, completely different world. I started discovering new skills and passions that I wasn't aware before. Again, for example, my passion for education. I was facing challenges that I never faced before. I was meeting people that were about to change my life forever. So naturally, this year wasn't enough for me. After coming back to Poland, I felt like something is different. I was aware of all those opportunities awaiting for me. And I made another bold decision. I applied for my master's program. I applied for another scholarship. And in 2018, I packed my bags again and returned to Japan. But this time, I wasn't stepping into the unknown. I was fully aware what awaits me there and dedicated to taking 100% out of everything, taking every opportunity. And at the time, this random comment made by my father in 2013 came back to me. And I thought, back then I thought that moving to another country is impossible. And yet I was about to do this for the second time. So I thought, what about turning this random comment, that's something that might happen in the future, into a challenge? So naturally, one of the first things that I did after coming back to Japan was applying to be a volunteer at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. The application process was a little bit challenging. It required specific skills, experience, and adaptability that I thought I didn't have at the time. Let me underline this once again. I was completely not interested in sports. I thought that my only highlight can be my language skills. But I applied. I told my story during the application that I faced some hardships in my life. I got inspired, and I want to make the Olympics my defining moment, my milestone. And to my surprise, I was accepted. I was assigned to the language services team. And I was very happy. Of course, my dream was getting closer and closer. But no, it wasn't that easy. Of course, as we all know, in 2020, the pandemic struck. turning the world upside down and postponing the Olympics to 2021. It was a really difficult time for all of us. And naturally, all the doubts came back to me. And I started thinking, well, maybe that was like too big a goal for me. Maybe I shouldn't plan something that big. Like, what if I'm not good enough after all? But at the end of the day, I decided, well, whether the Olympics actually happen, I'm here and I'm ready. So that would be my achievement. But thankfully, it happened. And as a part of Language Services team, I had the opportunity to work at many venues, including the Sea Forest Waterway, where representation of Poland won the first medal in rowing. Taking this photo was the moment I will always remember. It was like not only witnessing the history, but also being a part of it, working with the team, preparing them for everything, supporting during press interviews, press conferences. And it was just starting. It was much more. I started to move from one venue to another. It was possibly the most busy weeks in my life. And finally, I ended up at the National Stadium. And I think my most defining moment was right there. After the competition were over, one day I had the chance to go to the center of the stadium at night. And when I was there, I realized, well, this particular edition of the Olympics wasn't just a culmination of effort from the last couple of years. It was a celebration of resilience, of community, of overcoming the challenges, not only myself, but from everybody around me. And what struck me the most on that day were not the medals, not the ceremonies that I witnessed, not the photos that I took, but the realization how far did I go from being lost and sad and hopeless in my hometown to actually standing there in the middle of the world, surrounded by all this greatness. I thought that thanks to all those opportunities I took along the way, they equipped me with skills and confidence to become part of this event, to play maybe a small but meaningful role is such a monumental thing. So looking back right now, I feel like my journey wasn't only about reaching the specific goal, but it was everything that happened along the way. I learned a couple of lessons that I keep with me every day, even today, and I'm sure they will resonate with everybody here, all of us who still trying to reach their impossible goals or are facing challenges. First and foremost, perseverance is a superpower. So back then in 2013, when I thought that when I quit the university, I failed. But later I started realizing that failure is not really the opposite of success. It can be a part of it. It can be just the first step. And while facing all those challenges, I was unconsciously building resilience. It allowed me to grow and get better. And perseverance isn't just about having everything planned out. It's about taking one step after another, having the courage of embarking into the journey where you cannot really see the full path ahead of you, but taking this first step, hoping that the next will reveal itself. Second, passion fuels potential. So when I chose to study cultural studies, as I mentioned, it was not an obvious choice, and it wasn't based on any career opportunities, research, or anything. But it was something that really interested me. And I think that made all the change. Because it pushed me through all those sleepless nights, challenging coursework, and all the other challenges I faced along the way. So I would always advise to align your goals with something that you are passionate about. Because if you have this passion, you have this advantage, this extra power that always keeps pushing you forward, even when it's hard. Third, new environments often unlock new possibilities. Moving to Japan for a year was immersing myself in a completely new world, embracing challenges that I never faced before, seeing myself in a completely new way. I realized that sometimes if you want to realize your own true potential, you have to take this step into the unknown. So you'll find new hobbies, new skills, new inspirations that will stay with you forever. And lastly, very often, setbacks are just as stepping stones in disguise. So when I was at my worst time, it was hard to imagine a bright future. But then I started perceiving all those setbacks and challenges as just stepping stones or beginnings of the new chapters instead of end. And I think even from the darkest chapters, beautiful stories can emerge with beautiful endings. So what does it mean to all of you? So I would advise, wherever you are right now at your personal journey, whether you are just looking for your own grand goal, grand dream, whether you are just starting, whether you're facing setbacks right now, you have to remember that you have the power to create your own defining moments, your own milestones. And it's fine to not have everything planned right away. It's important to take one step, then another, and then another, until you reach your goal. And surprisingly, sometimes things that you felt were impossible can become inevitable. So dream big, embrace your challenges, face new opportunities, keep your eyes open for new opportunities that will bring more and more and lead you closer to the goal. And finally, we will reach it. Because the personal road to success is rarely straight and simple. It's convoluted, it's messy, it's surprising, sometimes dangerous, but it's definitely worth it. So I believe if I made it happen, you can do it too.